So we're back with another word from the Lord. Okay, He gave me revelations He had me read the book of Exodus, okay, the second book of Moses, and I was in chapter 1, and He was giving me revelations. This revelation comes from chapter 1, verse 12. I will read to you 10 through 12. I also made a prior video that is relating to verse 10, so that it will most likely connect to this word as well. I have my King James Version here, I have my New Living Translation, and I have my, the revelation message that the Lord delivered to me in my spirit, okay? So we're going to get started. I'm going to read 10 through 12 in King James, and then I'll read it in New Living Translation so you understand what's being said. And for the ones that don't understand King James Version, personally, I like this version because it speaks more to me, and it's how the Lord speaks to me. You read the Bible version that makes sense to you. Personally, I don't like the New International Version because there are verses that have been missing, and I have literally done a video using the New International Version and the King James Version, and literally there was like a big portion that was missing in it. So it's important to make sure you're reading the Bible that makes sense to you. But to me, the best version is King James, and personal preference. Okay, done. And the other one that I like is the New Living Translation because it makes sense for most people who have a hard time understanding King James. Okay, that's enough of that. We're gonna get started. Okay, so verse 10 says, "Come on, let us deal wisely with them, lest they multiply, and it come to pass that when there falleth out any war, they join also unto our enemies and fight against us, and so get them up out of the land. Therefore they did set over them taskmasters to afflict them with their burdens. And they built for Pharaoh treasure cities, Pithom and Ramses. But the more they afflicted them," this is verse 12 where he wants me to focus, "the more they multiplied and grew, and they were grieved because of the children of Israel." So now I'm going to read to you verses 10 through 12 in the New Living Translation, for the ones that don't understand what was being said. "We must make a plan to keep them from growing even more. If we don't, and if war breaks out, they will join our enemies and fight against us. Then they will escape from the country." By the way, this is the new king of Egypt, aka the Pharaoh, talking to his people about the Israelites, because the Israelites were under ruling of the Egyptians. Okay? Verse 11 goes, "So the Egyptians made the Israelites their slaves. They appointed brutal slave drivers over them, hoping to wear them down with crushing labor, because they forced them to build the cities of Pithom and Ramses as supply centers for the king." Now verse 12, which is the one he wants me to focus on, says, "But the more the Egyptians oppressed them, the more the Israelites multiplied and spread, and the more alarmed the Egyptians became." Basically, the Egyptians were scared of the Israelites multiplying, so they said, you know what, we're going to make them slaves, we're going to make them work for us, we're going to make them do all these things, and we're going to make sure that scares them from wanting to create more children or more of them. But if anything, the Israelites did the exact opposite of that and kept multiplying. They said, no. Now this is the verbatim message that the revelation that the Lord gave me on verse 12. "Not only is there power in numbers, but this is the reason I want my children to keep multiplying when it comes to kids, because as you noticed, the Israelites did exactly that, and they made their enemies fearful." Oh, I love the Lord. The revelations he gives to me, he's literally reiterating that to his children. He's like, I want you to keep making kids, keep having kids. Don't let people scare you. For example, a lot of people say in America, it's almost like a slave system, the way that we work a 9 to 5, the way that we let our children go into the school system. We don't homeschool. We don't live the biblical way anymore. We live very cultural-like versus the biblical way. Like the biblical way expects women to, stay home, take care of the kids, and all these things, which are actually great, and taking care, like teaching their kids through homeschooling. But people look at someone who homeschools as like, oh, you're a weirdo, you're a freak, oh, you are a Jesus worshiping freak, etc. And it's like, let's stop that trend. Let's stop calling it that. Let's stop calling homeschooling as something bad. It's something good. The masses are waking up. More women are waking up, and they're wanting to homeschool their children because they realize that our kids do not need to be in school, especially for 8 hours straight. If you go look up what is actually the hours of how much a kid is supposed to be learning, for high school, it's 4 hours. 4 hours of learning. And the less you go, it's like half an hour to an hour to 2 hours to 3 hours. Like, but what does our school system do? Go get a 9 to 5, go get a degree, go get this, etc. And then put your kids in daycare, put your kids in the school system, have them sitting for 8 hours all day long trying to learn this curriculum that doesn't really help our children or actually notify our children of anything, okay? When it comes to learning the real life tactics of the world. And that's why he's saying there's power in number. So if we multiply as descendants, as ancestors of the Israelites, if we do what they did in these hard times, we will gain more power, is what he's saying. We will have more power. That's what he's trying to reiterate in this verse. I pray that this reaches the person that it needs to reach. I pray that you don't feel bad for wanting to have kids. I pray that you don't feel bad for wanting to homeschool your kids. I pray that you don't feel bad for wanting to be a wife or being a stay-at-home wife. My testimony for that is it's a lot longer. I will share that when the Lord tells me to. Actually, he's telling me to share it now. Okay, I guess he wants me to share it. But basically, I come from being raised as a Muslim, and I'm a follower of Christ. I am not a Muslim. I'm not a Christian. I'm not a Jew. And I'm not a religion. Okay, I'm not any religious aspect. I am a follower of Christ. Okay, I follow his teachings. I follow his ways, and basically, I was raised in a very traditional household and mindset. But because there was abuse and there was a bunch of things that happened to me during being raised up, I ran the opposite way, and I ran into feminism. Okay, I ran into feminism thinking that was the right way to go, and that, you know, I don't need a man and I don't need this and all of that. But that is a whole scam. Okay, the original concept of feminism, where it came about, you know, for like in the sense of women deserve equal rights, which is actually in the Bible itself as well. Women, because it's so much deeper to this whole aspect of like submitting to a man and all these things. And it's like the trade wife or trad wife thing is trending. That is not what I'm talking about. I'm talking about a biblical woman, and a trade wife is completely different. Like, that's completely separate things. Let me just tell you, there's things that kind of mix in, but not really. If you look at what a biblical wife is, you'll come to find out that she is, just because she submits to her husband does not mean that she's inferior or weak. And then people will say, well, there's a verse that says that the weaker vessel. Yes, technically, as a woman, you are not as strong as a man. The Lord didn't make you in that way. I'm not saying women are weak. I'm not saying women are not strong. Okay, that is not what I'm saying at all. There is a whole misconception about the term weakness. The Lord made women more in tune with their emotions, more in tune with their intuition. They are supposed to be treated like fragile beings because they take on so much, they deal with so much. That's why they need a man who is there to protect them, provide for them, and be that biblical husband. Okay, and I didn't come into that concept till later into my life. I'm 30 years old, and now I completely understand what it is that I want in life. But if I didn't go through the abuse and all of that, like in my past, and go through the trials and tribulation of being a feminist and supporting the feminist movement, because right now the feminist movement, you know, it ain't it. It's not it. It's really not it. It's a very in-depth, long video that I'd have to do to completely tell you, but what I'm trying to focus on here is the Lord wants us to have more kids if it's possible for you. And let me reiterate that it is possible for you. If you wholeheartedly pray and seek the Lord when it comes to having more kids, He gonna make it happen. He will. He's a healer. He's gonna make it happen. That's all I'm gonna say for right now. But thank you for listening to me for this word.